Hey everybody, this is Amanda Schmidt and I am so excited to paint with you today. So first thing you need to do is get the tracer that was shared with you and transfer that image onto your watercolor paper. So I like to do that either by using a little light box to trace the image through onto the watercolor paper, or you can even just hold it up to a well-lit window and trace the image lightly onto your watercolor paper. So I am using liquid watercolor paint today. You can use whatever you have. I really love the very bright colors I get from liquid watercolor. So I'm going to start with a yellow to do our lemon. So you can actually make these citrus fruits really whatever you like. You can make them orange or maybe pink for grapefruit, whatever you like. I'm going to stick with a maybe a kind of traditional lemon. So I am using a size, I think size 6 round brush here. A round brush is very handy, so if you have one of those, that is what I would recommend to use. And I'm just painting the outside rind and the inside of the lemon, and then now I'm just going to let that be. And now I'm going to come down to the whole lemon down here along the side and put down my first layer of color here. And the next thing I'm going to do is take some clean water, and on the inside of my jar there where the lemonade is going to be, I'm going to take some clean water and just wet my paper a little bit. This is called a wet on wet technique, and it creates a nice soft look. I think it works really well with anything that is supposed to be liquid like our lemonade here. So I have my clean water and I'm just basically moistening the paper and kind of getting it prepped for more of our yellow watercolor paint. Be careful not to put too much so that you have a puddle. You don't want too much water. But once you have it ready to go, you can take your yellow paint and just paint all on the inside. You can leave some places that are a little bit lighter than others. That's okay. That will make it look a little more realistic. The next thing I'm going to paint are my leaves, and so I like to make my own green here. So I'm going to take some of my blue and make a puddle and then add some of that yellow that I was just using for the lemons and the lemonade part of the painting, and add that to the blue, and it creates this really pretty green color that I'm going to use for my leaves. And so the leaves are already there for you if you use the tracer. And so what I like to do is come in with my the tip of my round brush and fill in about half of it, and then leave a little space that is kind of stands for a vein down the middle of my leaf. You can fill it all in if you like, but I like the way the leaf looks when it has a little bit of white space in the middle. And then you're just going to repeat that for every leaf you have up there on your jar. All right, let's work on our little straw. So you can either take a pink or a red and fill in every other section here to make a little striped straw. So much fun. Um, and feel free to use whatever colors you like. I like the pinkish red color I have here. And you're going to skip the rim of the jar and then come in and fill in the rest. And then once the straw hits the lemonade, it looks always when it when you're looking through something liquid, the picture gets distorted a little bit, so the straw kind of moves over. But you're just going to paint it just as though the whole straw was all in one place. Now you might notice that once I'm down here on the yellow section, my pink sections of my straw start to kind of bleed a little bit, which is fine. It is just because that yellow has not completely dried. So if you want your straw to be very crisp looking, then you need to make sure that the yellow is completely dry before you put the pink or red stripes on your straw that are in the actual lemonade. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go back up to that lemon that is on the rim of our jar. So make sure it's totally dry before you do this step, otherwise your little details won't show up quite as much. So what I'm going to do is take the very same yellow that I had before, and I'm just going to add a few lines within each of the little wedges of my lemon. So I'm not filling in the whole thing, I'm just adding a few lines to kind of create a little bit of detail in each wedge. So just kind of a zigzag motion in each of the little wedges there. And then I like to take a little bit more and add just a little bit more color to the rind of our lemon. And then you can do the very same thing down on the lemon wedges that are inside your jar. So you're just kind of adding a few lines in each of the wedges. All right, and after we finish up this second little lemon wedge here, we're going to move on to the lemon to the side there. So that one is meant to be a whole lemon. So think about it being kind of round, and I'm just going to add a few lines around the edge of my lemon that kind of curve around to show that it is a curved item and not just something flat. So I'm just going around the edge of my lemon and adding a little bit more yellow there, and what that will do is give a little bit of shadow and shape to our lemon. Then we're going to let that be and let that dry. And if your leaves are dry like mine are here, I like to take a little bit of the same green that I used before and just add a little vein down the middle of my leaf and add some kind of diagonal shaped lines there along each side of that vein to add just a little bit of detail to your leaves. And this is optional. If you don't want to worry about this step, you don't have to. But as you can see, the green shows up on that first layer so nicely. I love the way that looks. All right, the next thing we're going to do is move on to our jar. So I'm going to take a little bit of my blue here, and I'm going to mix it with a tiny bit of the green and create kind of a teal color because I'm going for that kind of blue jar color in those, ball mason jars. So the jar is going to be pretty loose, so I'm just going to take a little bit of that blue and go horizontal along the rim there and just add in a few lines to kind of mimic the screw-on lid portion of the jar. Then I'm going to move down and just add a little bit of blue along the side here where that space was drawn on your jar. Then I'm just going to kind of continue around and fill in that white space that was there with our blue. And once you've gone around your jar here, you are going to finish up your jar by just adding a few lines to mimic some highlights of the jar. So I'm just going to go around the top here, horizontal with a few lines, grab a little bit more paint, and then go vertical down the jar. So don't feel like you have to do the whole jar with this blue color. You're just adding a few lines to kind of show some highlights and some shading, some reflections of the light. And then you're going to let everything dry. So make sure everything is dry before we come in with our pen. So that is exactly what we're going to do next. Now this step is totally optional. I love to add black pen details. So I'm just going to kind of go around and add a little bit of an outline to all the sections of our jar and our lemons and all that. So you can use whatever you like. I like to use micron pens. This is a micron pen with a bullet tip. It works really well on this watercolor paper. So the outline does not have to be totally perfect. I like to keep it loose. It doesn't have to match up to Now you might notice that I did not add the lettering to my page yet. You can add your lettering at the beginning when you are tracing everything else, or you can do it a little bit later, and that's fine too. Be sure before you get to your hand lettering that everything is totally dry on your painting. Otherwise, the pen is not going to like that. And if you like, you can, like I said before, you can trace the lettering or you can just do it on your own and try your hand at your own hand lettering. Either way, just keep it simple. You can even just do very simple printing. And you can, and also, please feel free to change up the whatever wording you like. If you didn't want to put summer is sweet, you can put life is sweet or whatever summary quote or lemonade quote you have. Feel free to be as creative as you like. Something I like to do to kind of create a little bit of interest on my hand lettering is to thicken the lines that are considered downstrokes. So whenever you would be writing these words, if you were going down the page, then that is the line of the letter that you're going to make a little bit thicker. So again, this is all optional, but if you like to try it, it is a nice thing to try with your lettering. And that is it, my friends. Thank you for joining me for this tutorial. Be sure to follow me over on Snappy New Day Watercolor on Facebook. You can check out Watercolor Co. monthly, which is my monthly watercolor membership. And I will hopefully be painting with you more soon in the future. See ya.